The Greyhound was scheduled to depart at 5:30 a.m. Eliza sat alone in the deserted station, her single suitcase beside her, watching dawn creep across the harbor. Every fiber of her being ached to return to Julian, but she remained rooted to the hard plastic seat, convinced her leaving was his only chance to salvage his standing in sea breeze. At 5:15, the station door burst open. Julian stood there, chest heaving, still wearing the t-shirt and sweatpants he'd slept in, her note crumpled in his fist. "No," he said simply, the word containing volumes of refusal. Eliza rose, tears threatening. "Julian, please, I'm trying to do the right thing." "Running away isn't the right thing," he countered, crossing to her. "Not for me and not for you, not anymore." He took her hands, his voice softening. "Do you know what I did after I found your note? I called my lawyer. I'm filing a lawsuit against Bellingham for defamation and tortious interference." Eliza's eyes widened. "Julian, you can't, his lawyers." "Will be outmatched," Julian finished. "Because I also called every chef you ever worked with before Bellingham, every culinary school instructor. They're all willing to testify to your character, your integrity." Her voice trembled. "How did you even find them?" "I've been gathering evidence for weeks," he admitted. "Ever since you told me the full story, I wanted to be prepared if he ever showed up." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a thumb drive. "But this is the real game changer." He explained that his cousin was a cybersecurity expert who had helped recover deleted emails from Bellingham's former assistant. Emails explicitly discussing the plot to frame Eliza after she'd threatened to expose the tip theft. "It's over, Eliza," Julian said softly. "He can't hurt you anymore." She shook her head, disbelieving. "But the town, the council." "Will hear the truth at this morning's emergency meeting, 7 a.m. He checked his watch. "Which gives us exactly 1 hour to get you home, changed, and ready to face them together." As the Greyhound pulled away without her, Eliza felt a weight lifting. Not just the immediate threat of Bellingham, but the burden she'd carried for years, always looking over her shoulder, always waiting for the past to catch up. The town hall was packed when they arrived. Bellingham stood at the front with Beverly Whittaker, both looking smugly confident until Julian raised his hand to speak. What followed was unlike anything Seabreeze Harbor had witnessed in its 150-year history. Julian presented the evidence methodically, his architectural precision applied to dismantling Bellingham's reputation rather than designing buildings. When he finished, he introduced a surprise video call, Bellingham's former assistant, now working in California, who confirmed everything. Bellingham stormed out before the questioning began. Beverly Whittaker, suddenly finding herself on the wrong side of town sentiment, attempted damage control that fell embarrassingly flat. Most moving were the townspeople who stood to speak in Eliza's defense. Mrs. Hargrove, the farmers who supplied her ingredients, even the school principal who regularly ordered her cookies for faculty meetings. They had come to know her, trust her, value her contribution to their community. By meeting's end, the council had formally apologized and unanimously approved a small business grant for what Julian dramatically unveiled as their new venture. A purpose-built structure combining bookstore, bakery, and cafe, the very design he'd sketched for Eliza months earlier. That evening, they celebrated with a private picnic on the lighthouse point. Julian had recreated their first meal together, her cardamom cinnamon rolls paired with his surprisingly good homemade soup. As sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Julian took her hand. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you." She smiled. "If it's about making our living arrangement official, yes, I'll move in properly." "That's just the beginning," he said, suddenly looking nervous. From his pocket, he produced not a ring box as she half expected, but an antique key. "This was my grandfather's," he explained. "It opened the original bookstore before the building was renovated. I've kept it as a reminder that sometimes the right key finds the right lock at exactly the right moment." His eyes held hers. "You're my right moment, Eliza Bennett, and I'm yours." He placed the key in her palm. "It won't open any door now, but I thought we could incorporate it into the entryway of our new building. A symbol that sometimes the best stories begin when someone takes a chance on you." Eliza closed her fingers around the key, too moved to speak. Julian gathered her close, his voice a whisper against her hair. "I love you, Eliza. Stay with me. Build with me. Grow old turning pages and kneading dough with me." She knew then with absolute certainty that she had finally, truly come home. Not to a place, but to a person, the one human who had seen her worth when everyone else had turned away. Yes, she whispered back, sealing the promise with a kiss as the lighthouse beam began its evening vigil. No longer a reminder of loneliness, but a beacon illuminating all the beautiful possibilities that lay ahead. Autumn painted Seabreeze Harbor in amber, and Russet as Book and Crumb celebrated its 4th month of operation. Business had grown steady enough that Julian had cleared space for 3 small cafe tables among the bookshelves, where customers could enjoy Eliza's pastries with coffee or tea while browsing. Their relationship had deepened with the changing season. Eliza had gradually moved most of her belongings into Julian's apartment, though she kept the cottage as her official address. Small towns noticed everything, and neither of them wanted to rush the public side of their relationship while the business partnership was still establishing itself. That morning, Eliza prepared for their busiest day yet. They were providing refreshments for the town's harvest festival. She'd been baking since midnight, creating miniature pies, pumpkin-spiced cookies, and apple cider donuts that would showcase her talents to even the few remaining skeptical townspeople. Julian entered the kitchen, wrapping his arms around her from behind and pressing a kiss to her neck. The festival committee is going to be blown away. If I finish on time, she laughed, leaning back into his embrace. You're distracting me. Guilty as charged, he murmured against her skin, but I brought reinforcements. He held up a thermos of fresh coffee and her favorite playlist cued on his phone. As they worked side by side, Julian boxing finished pastries while Eliza completed the final batches. She marveled at how seamlessly their lives had interwoven. The man who had taken a chance on her had become the center of her world, and the town that had initially rejected her now felt increasingly like home. By mid-morning, they'd loaded Julian's station wagon with pastry boxes and were setting up their booth at the festival grounds when Eliza froze, the color draining from her face. Across the crowd, examining produce at a farmer's stand, was Richard Bellingham, her former boss, the man who had destroyed her career in Boston. Eliza, Julian touched her arm, concerned at her sudden pallor. What's wrong? Her voice came out strangled. He's here, Bellingham. Julian followed her gaze, instantly understanding. His jaw tightened. What would he be doing in Seabreeze? The answer came soon enough. Bellingham, it turned out, was considering purchasing a summer home in the area and had been invited to judge the festival's culinary competition. The very competition Eliza had entered her signature cardamom-spiced cinnamon rolls. When Bellingham spotted her, his eyebrows rose in mock surprise. Miss Bennett, he said, loud enough for nearby vendors to hear. What an unexpected pleasure, still baking, I see. How quaint. Eliza's hands trembled as she arranged pastries, but she lifted her chin. Mr. Bellingham. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. I do hope you're not handling the cash here, given your history with financial discrepancies. Julian stepped forward, positioning himself between them. You must be Richard Bellingham. I've heard all about you. The coldness in Julian's typically warm voice made Bellingham step back. And you are? Julian Parker, Eliza's partner. The word carried multiple meanings, all of them protective. Bellingham's thin smile didn't reach his eyes. How noble, though you might want to check your register regularly. Throughout the day, Bellingham made a point of stopping potential customers approaching their booth, engaging them in conversations just out of earshot that left people glancing suspiciously at Eliza. Sales slowed to a trickle. By afternoon, whispers had spread throughout the festival. Eliza was disqualified from the competition on a technicality. The town mayor, who had recently become a Book and Crumb regular, suddenly couldn't meet her eyes. That evening, as they packed up largely unsold pastries, Beverly Whitaker approached with several other town council members. We need to speak with Julian, Beverly announced, pointedly ignoring Eliza. Privately. Julian refused. Anything you have to say can be said to both of us. Beverly's lips thinned. Fine. Mr. Bellingham has expressed interest in opening a high-end patisserie in town. It would bring jobs, tourism. The council is quite excited. And, Julian prompted, though his rigid posture suggested he already knew what was coming. And he's made it clear he won't proceed if certain elements remain in the local business community. Her gaze flicked dismissively to Eliza. The council feels that the bookstore is an important town landmark, but perhaps the baking arrangement has run its course. Julian's laugh held no humor. Let me be absolutely clear. Eliza stays or I go too. The bookstore, the building, all of it, I'll sell and we'll both leave. Beverly blanched. Don't be hasty, Julian. Think of your family legacy, your grandfather's. I am thinking of family, he interrupted. The one I'm choosing to build. After the council members departed, Eliza touched Julian's arm gently. You shouldn't have done that. This town, that bookstore, they're your whole life. Julian turned to her, eyes fierce with conviction. No, you're my life now. The rest is just setting. But as they drove home in silence, the weight of the day settled between them. For the first time since they'd met, uncertainty clouded their future. Bellingham's reappearance had shattered their carefully constructed haven, forcing them to confront a harsh reality. Sometimes, no matter how far you run, the past finds you anyway. In their apartment that night, Eliza packed a small bag while Julian slept. She placed her key on the counter with a note. I won't be the reason you lose everything you've built. I love you enough to let you go. Her heart breaking with each step, she slipped out into the autumn night, tears blurring the lighthouse beam as she walked toward the bus station.